Hello everyone, Kristina here with your Divine Love reading for the week of March 13th through the 19th. Thanks for joining me. Just a reminder, this is the last week for the Eclipse Equinox special, and details for that are down below as usual. And wow, let us just get into these cards because there is so much repetition and so much crosstalk happening, and it's been happening all week in the readings. Like the same exact words or cards or messages coming out in multiple decks in the same reading. And so it's like the universe is shouting, something is turning. I am like, wow, about it. So let's do this. The way I do this, the first half of the spread has to do with us. When I say you, me, we, us, that means those of us who are engaging with this video together right now. The second half of the spread has to do with your divine counterpart, and so that would be the person who is on your mind and in your heart. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Ooh, the energies currently surrounding us are this. We have the Star card here, and I feel like, you know, for the last few weeks we've been really talking about like paying attention to the horizon, right? And how big or small we are allowing ourselves to see that horizon being. And look at this star card. And actually, I think we've had this one fairly recently. But if you look at this star card, it's this just gorgeous, it's wide, it's big, it's full of stars, and then the coloring too. And this coloring is echoing throughout. Like I've been seeing this coloring all over the place. So we've got the orange here, this is the sacral chakra, the pink for unconditional love, and then over here it's kind of this teal, bluish, indigo-ish of the, I mean, technically you could say this is like all 7 colors like in a spectrum, but this is the throat chakra, and it just feels like we're really on the cusp of a turn on how we are expressing our own divinity in the world. Okay, and that can also be as like creative endeavors. How are we creating that kind of divine expression? This is also, like I said, orange with the sacral chakra is also about sexuality and sensuality. And so it's like with these 3 prominent colors, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here, with these 3 colors being so prominent, it's like, yeah, how are you expressing your divinity in word and deed? Okay, so that the sacral is really that embodiment of that expression. So whether that's in your, as a sexual interaction, is that an expression of your divinity or is it not? And that there's a lot of ways what that can look like. Okay, expressing divinity in sexual ways. There's not one story there or one version of events there, but it's, I mean, you'll know it's in you. And then the same goes with words and communication and language. Wow, it just feels like this just feels like it's so synergistic. It's like people have been doing a lot of work on like one thing, and then maybe this other thing, and then this third thing over here, and people are finally bringing all of that into this kind of synergistic alignment. I know that I've personally just been feeling a lot of peace and stability, that there's not this anxious, you know, there's no anxiety or anything like that going on, no wondering. Even with anticipation, it's like, yeah, okay, that's exciting, and I'm open to receiving it, but not like that clinging, oh God, I sure hope it happens, and oh, she said it was gonna happen, and her card said. It's just like, yeah, the energies are getting all in line, and you know, these are weekly readings, but you know, the universe doesn't really operate according to our calendars. Just to be let, but they do kind of give us heads up about things brewing, and this is definitely a card of that. This is about our own, this is echoed too in our masculine feminine cards for the week. Like, yeah, this is really about like finally seeing how wide and large our own horizons are, and pondering, like, okay, if that's how big the horizon is, where do I want to start? Where am I going first? Which star am I going to land on first? Which star will I follow first? I love this. This is such, I mean, actually all three of our cards on our side are pretty good. This is an interesting one. Our counterpart actually had this on their side last week. So drawing us out of alignment with our highest expression of love is the Six of Deserts. This is usually, this card means triumphant return. And I really feel like this time around it's like that waiting. If you're clinging to like what the return of your partner is going to look like, or like if you've got a set this is what they're telling me, okay? If you've got a set idea in your mind of like what their return looks like, what their reaching out to you looks like, what their kind of and I'm going to say this is primarily for people who are out of contact with their partners. If you've got an idea in your mind about how that's supposed to look, or how it will go, they're saying that you got to let go of that a little bit, because they've got a plan in place that's bigger. It's not even about it being bigger. It's just that it's not it's not what you think, okay? And just because it's not what you think doesn't mean it's any less than a triumph of a return. Okay, so for some of you this might just be kind of renormalizing like communication with your counterpart. And so that's not the big swooping, swirling, kissing in the rain, running to each other in the airport kind of a thing. It's just like, hey, hi, I'm around. Are you around? Yeah, I'm around. And it's kind of like, if you were to, like, if a rom-com were to write the story that way, people would be like, what is this? What is this crap? This is so anticlimactic, right? And so they're just saying, like, so don't get yourself into don't cling to a fantasy of what reunion looks like based on romantic comedies and fairy tales and things like that, or even like in your own. It's not so much like if you've got a visual, like a vision board and you're doing like manifestation. They're saying, wow, okay, this is big. They're saying it's like, are you going to have a wedding, or are you going to have a marriage? Because people will sometimes put everything they have into throwing this party that lasts one day, that they forget that that marriage is something that like is not a party the whole time, and it's not big uncomfortable dresses, pretty dresses, if you will, but it's not all of that. It's not all the costuming. It's not the show. It is the day-to-day being with each other. And so that's why they're saying, they're kind of giving you this card about like, don't get too hung up on what you think that's supposed to look like, because it won't be delivered in that form. Okay. I actually kind of like this. Like, in the grand scheme of things that draw us out of alignment, this isn't that bad. They're like, hey, listen, let us tell you the story. So I love that. I don't know, I'm so giddy all of a sudden, you guys. Like, something is clearly brewing, because the last couple weeks I've just been like, okay. Now, drawing us into alignment, we've got Judgment. And I actually feel this more like, this is about receiving, being receptive. Like, if this is us having a plan and like we want to write the script, and they're like, no, we're writing the script. You just open your arms to receive. That's what the Judgment card is. If you can, let me see if I can give you a clear view of it. So you can see it's like kind of the all-seeing eye, and all of the gold light bursting forth, and then all of these cherub and angels kind of around. And I am going to pause for a moment because they want me to fish out the Rider-Waite version. Hold, please. Oops. And we're back! Okay, so they wanted me to fish out the Rider-Waite version of that Judgment card. And if you can see here, all of the angel is up above them. And then they also have, like, all of the people down below, they're naked and they have their arms open, ready to receive. And it really is about, like, strip yourself down. Strip yourself of ego, of clinging, of attachment, of of expectation, and just allow the universe to deliver to you. Okay, so I know that was kind of a long way to go for that. I didn't need to do that, but except really to make the point about receiving. And I feel like last week I was talking about the ways that people would want something so badly, and then when, they get a reading and I'm telling them, like, yes, it's here for you, and they go, oh, well, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And in that, are you sure is no. Okay. And so if we are going, like, what really gets us into alignment is this incredible supreme trust that the highest good will prevail. And you've probably had enough of your own signs and synchronicities. I mean, this is what led you to your partner to begin with, and reinforced your kind of sticking it out with your partner, that you already know that there has been a plan for you. You already know that you've been nudged and guided in this direction. And so why would they abandon you in that now, right? So open your arms, be ready. You're so receptive to all of your other signs. Be receptive to the ways, the signs that you've already gotten from the universe that we're trying to deliver this to you. Take yes for an answer. All right. Okay. So, like I told you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's go to the masculine and feminine cards. So if you're new, a lot of readers will kind of assign one side to be the masculine and the other side to be the feminine, and that is definitely in keeping with the twin flame narrative. But me personally, I pull cards for masculine and feminine energies for each partner, because we all embody both. Okay, we have both of those energies within us, and part of the twin flame narrative is that in order to get ourselves ready and in alignment, we actually have to balance those things out in ourselves. Okay, so it doesn't really do us any good to be like, all right, you're the feminine, because you eventually have to get the masculine kind of up and running at kind of the same level. The other reason I do that is to completely sidestep the heteronormative talk around masculine, feminine, and the idea of, like, opposite sex relationships. So, and all of the gender pronoun stuff. So that's all of my reasoning for that. And if that resonates with you, great. I'll see you here next week. And if it doesn't, well, thanks for joining me this week. Okay, so you guys, it's like, I love it. Okay, so we'll start with our masculine energies. On our side, we have Zeus, and his keyword is leadership. Here we've got this bald eagle. I am so thrilled about this. This is his keywords, or not his keywords, but like this is a card about being a steward of your own life, being the leader of your own life, creating, kind of creating the world your own, as well as your place within it, within the larger world, creating it according to your liking, not just to your liking, but stewardship implies that there has to be something sustainable about it, that there has to be something that is kind of that there's growth and development that's also embedded within the world that you build for yourself. And for people on our side this week, it seems like you might be doing some introspection around, your life's purpose, your work, and like I said last week, it can be career, like what you do to pay your bills, but it can also be, the kinds of things that you do volunteer-wise. If you're a member of a church or a spiritual organization like that, it could be like any other kind of volunteer work, if you're doing service in your community, working with homeless or with like children and after school programs, there's all kinds of ways that we can be of service in, you know, to humanity, and not even just humanity, but obviously the animal world. So cosmically, let's just, you know, let's do that big umbrella of everything. There are all kinds of ways to be of service. And for some of you, it seems like, not just this week, but it's been an ongoing process of figuring out how to get into greater alignment, like to bring into greater alignment the thing that you do for money and the thing that you know is your service, like your cosmic service, your spiritual service. And so this week you've got Zeus on your side. Like really, it seems like this is the week that you'll start either making your plan or implementing your plan. And if you haven't quite thought of it yet, and like this is your nudge, then maybe this is the week for you that you go, yeah, like maybe what I do for cash isn't totally in alignment with what I know that I'm supposed to be doing for the world. So how do I get that? How do I fix that situation? Okay, so there's some good stuff there. And then this is balanced out with the feminine energy, which is Sheila Nagig, and her keyword is gateways. Okay, I'm really digging this. Like this, we are in, so we had that, I told you before, we had like the eclipse period, the period right in between the two eclipses was kind of like a gateway. And then we also have now this, it's like everything kind of got shed, and then we were planting new seeds and like bringing some new beginning stuff in, and now we're about to head into this equinox, which is about balance, and it just feels like this whole moment, even the full moon that we're having today, Sunday, the 12th, even this full moon is about new beginnings. I mean, like I was saying, it was like, how much new beginning energy do you need? Well, obviously, like this is, if you're birthing something big, then yeah, you need all the help you can get. And so here with Sheila Nagig with this gateway, the gateway in this case is actually, you know, like the opening to the womb. It's like the birth canal. All right. So she's associated with female genitalia. And even if you are a man watching this video, this still applies to you, because this is about gateways into being a creator. Okay, into the womb and or out of the womb. This is still about birthing. And like what world are you birthing for yourself? What are you trying to bring in? And I'm not, wow, there's so much crosstalk between all of these cards. What are you birthing? What world are you building? Who are you in the world? Who are you? You know, in your relationship with your divine partner, with your counterpart, that is a vessel for divine love, okay? And, you know, which is why when you guys come together, there's all of that, you know, I said I'm trying to get away from the triggering talk, but there's all of that catalyzing of, oh crap, here comes all my pain and all my wounds, and they're all just coming right up to the surface and ready to be healed. But we often don't experience it, like we don't cognitize it as ready to be healed. We just feel the discomfort of it and go, oh my gosh, and everybody runs away because it's scary and uncomfortable. But what we're getting, you know, what we're actually doing, like if people take up the mantle of, okay, I'm going to heal this, it's like shoring up, like I know that, like right now, this is what my side of the vessel looks like, and I'm supposed to hold divine love in here. There's holes in this thing, right? And so your job, you know, the healing task is really to kind of close up all that stuff, like all the places where divine love just kind of falls through and doesn't get to like grow or go anywhere. And both partners are doing that, you know, like we get this, sorry, this is kind of a weird, oh my gosh, pantomime with Kristina. But we're trying to kind of shore up this vessel, and both of you kind of make up both sides of the vessel for divine love. So that divine love can express itself in the world through your joint works, okay? And sometimes it's because of something that you do together as a team, but other times it's because you each have your own unique gifts and you need the other as that emotional, spiritual support to like someone who fully understands you, you know, like, so this half of the vessel fully understands this one and clicks together with it just so perfectly that the two together are able to be that vessel. So I hope this is making sense. Okay, so wow, and I just totally lost my train of thought about why I was telling you this. Oh yeah, so as we're, you know, when we're doing that work, when we're like making ourselves into that vessel, we're passing through this gateway of making ourselves a solid half of this vessel. Okay. Whoa. I mean, and don't get me wrong, this isn't about like, oh, you're only half of a vessel, because we are like our unique selves over here. We're already supposed to be, we are a vessel for divine love, just individually doing our own works. And then the relationship itself is this other vessel that has a synergistic quality to it. Okay. Oh yeah, this is all part of the discussion around Sheila and a gig, because this is, you know, the gateway that we're coming into, but also like this is the womb, this is the creation. We are creators, and in order to, I feel like I've just totally like kind of completely lost my train of thought. Hold please. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. And so yeah, so this is still about like getting ourselves like what am I individually trying to create in the world, and like, you know, because we are like connected to our partners, and I mean that like in a hardwired way. This is a message that has been coming through pretty loud and clear over this week with readings, is, you know, we're energetically connected, and when it's unhealthy, it can sometimes manifest like as an energetic cord, but a cord when it's that creates the spinning. So when you start to get on the hamster wheel, you know, like you get to have the obsessive thoughts in your mind rather than like, oh yes, of course they're on my mind because I love them, you know, like that there's love here. That manic stuff, those are the kinds of energetic cords that need to be cleared often, really, because it's usually like that's people feeding on each other's energy, and what we really need to be able to do is just kind of sit with our own energy and have our own energy be fulfilling and nourishing enough. Okay. But then there's this other part where we are hardwired energetically together. That's when I say, like when we talk about like the union is already there, okay? Like, but what everybody's concern is about is whether or not this union, this joint, this connection, the bond, whether it can express itself as a romantic relationship in physical 3D life. That's what everyone's concern is about. And so, you know, when we clear, it's like, so you need to, this gateway is about, okay, what am I expressing here? I don't have to worry about my partner, the worry, the anxiety. That doesn't have to be here, because like we're already hardwired together. I need to be a vessel for divine love to express itself in the world in various ways. I mean, like my across the street neighbor, there was a death over there this week, and I mean, I didn't quite figure it out until I saw everyone arriving for kind of the post services, like the after services, and it was just like, please, I'm not trying to be like, I'm such a good person, but you know, I buy myself flowers a lot, and I had a lot of flowers yesterday or the day before, and when I saw this gathering, I went, oh, you know what? I just want to make sure that kind of she knows that the neighborhood has seen her, you know, like someone in the neighborhood is paying attention. And so I went back inside and got my flowers, and I was like, I would just like to contribute these, and I sent them in with, you know, one of her guests. I have no idea. But I was like, oh, I feel like that was a way of, you know, that wasn't like me doing volunteer work. I didn't sign up for a committee. It was just like, oh, I see this. I know what grief is. I know how that feels. And sometimes like the kindness of strangers is just like this really you know, it's a surprise gift from the universe. And so I just felt like, okay, I'll just do that. So that, I felt like that was an instance of, that I could point to of my own action of divine love expressing itself. But even when we're not, you know, and then I'm not kidding you guys, 5 minutes later, less than 5 minutes later, I was getting on the on-ramp and I had a slow-mo in front of me and I was cussing him out. So, you know, like, yeah, balance. I'm not goodness embodied. It's just like, no, I'm still a human being. And there are times when I know that, like, oh, here's a way that I'm doing service. And then there's other times that I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like everybody else. I'm just a human being cussing out strangers after I give somebody else flowers. Okay, Sheila and a gig. Let's come back to her. So I'm super chatty, but I'm just telling you all the things that they want me to talk about. All right, so this gateway, so even if you're not a woman, this gateway, we are standing at our own precipice for, like, are you going to step into your own best life? Okay, your own best expression, like the best way that you are able to be an expression of divine love. Are you ready? And it's like, I just really feel like, especially with all of the cards that we have this week, that it's like the door is open and we're standing right at the threshold. And now it's about making the commitment to go forward with it. And they're telling me right now, like, just know that the universe is, when you are on your path, the universe will have the ground rise to meet your feet. Okay, so any excuses you might be making about why you can't do it right now or right this instant or whatever, like, or why you can't do it at all, they're saying, like, oh, are those excuses or are you making plans? So even if it's something that you need to make a plan about, and you're not going to take the direct action right this moment, making the plan is also part of stepping through the door. Like making okay, I have to do these things so I can cross that threshold. Okay, so that's where we're at this week, the masculine and feminine on our side. It feels big. I can feel how big this is. Let's go to the counterpart side. They have, as their current energy surrounding them, they have the Four of Forests. And here is a nest full of 4 robin's eggs. They're pointing out the color again. This is the teal. We've got teal here, and the heart, the green with the heart chakra. Oh, did I say that? I don't remember if I said this, but I think this might have been the sidetrack that I went off on our side, was about, like, connecting the throat chakra with the sacral. I did say this. Let me continue. Yeah, sorry you guys. The energy's kind of all over the place, and clearly, like, I'm just having a little bit of trouble focusing because I know that there's so much crosstalk between the cards. All right, so for them, they are also, you know, they know that they're at this new beginning, and they know it's fragile, and so they're being a little bit guarded about it right now. Like, if they are talking with you, if they're communicating with you, or even thinking about it, it's very tentative because they are so worried about this fragility that's here. And this is their own, you know, this is their own heart, their own, you know, like they're well aware of what it would mean for them to come back into your life, or to reestablish a normal relationship with you, or even to say, okay, I'm ready, you know, to, like, really go full bore into the whole, like, if you've been doing kind of a back and forth with a non-committal counterpart, they could potentially be getting into, like, that more serious, like, okay, I'm really in this. And they fully understand and respect the fragility of that. And I like the card that's pulling them into alignment will echo that. But let's look at the now I've showed you. So this is the card that's pulling them out of alignment with their own, you know, from being an expression of divine love, and it is It's the Six of Skies, and ordinarily, I just think this is so interesting. So we've both got sixes, okay? We both have sixes. These are both usually really positive cards about, here's triumphant return. Who doesn't want a triumphant return, right? And then this one is about moving from rough waters to calm waters, or like leaving behind turbulence and you know, leaving behind stuff that like is bad for you, and moving more toward your own like goodness and highest everything, right? And that's the thing that's pulling them out of alignment too. So what they're telling me about this is that this one is actually about them running away from their own problems, not running away from you, running away from their own emotions, their own, I don't want to say demons, but you know, the pain that they've been carrying around for so long. This is them, when they pull themselves out of alignment, it's because they're running away from their stuff and trying not to look at it. Okay. This is a bird that's fleeing, not a bird that is taking flight. You know what I mean? Like one of those is about fear and the other one is about ambition, or like goal and focus. And so, yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing that, just that that's a potential energy that might be pulling on them this week. Now, I like this. This is the energy drawing them into alignment with divine love that helps them be that vessel of divine love expressing itself in the world. So we have the Two of Forests, and here's our two little, I love this card so much, our two little fragile mushrooms who are, clinging to each other because they love each other so much. They're so cute. They're rising up out of the decomposing forest floor. And they're both of these are fragility. There's a tenderness. There's tenderness here. There's a little bit of, there's softness. These aren't, this isn't the steel cage. This is like, oh, I'm tender. I'm fragile. I'm soft, and it's okay. We know that these things make it all the time. They survive the world and all of its dangers and all of its, the trampling animals who come through. They make it all the time. Of course they do. Otherwise these things wouldn't exist. So, for those of us who are watching this is about, just trust that your counterpart is actually embracing this fragility, where they've been really resistant to that in the past, where they've really, we talked about armor. We've talked about armor over the past few weeks, and about how, we don't need that armor anymore. They are finally coming into that space of like, you're right, I don't need this armor anymore. What do I think I'm protecting myself from? I don't need this. And then they're allowing themselves to be open and to be tender in these ways with themselves first, okay? And once they're tender with themselves, then they are in a position to be tender with you, and really with everybody around them. But so these are really some lovely cards on their side. Okay, sorry for all these jump cuts. This actually feels like it might be relevant, so I'm going to tell you why I had to pause just now. It's really smoky in my house. I've got some, like a couple sage bundles burning, or smudge bundles burning. One of them is, one of them is a love sage bundle, and then the other one is associated with Jupiter. And that becomes important once we get to what's in the garden. And so I'm just going to leave that there. Like, I'm like, oh, I can't, like, and the reason why this is actually really relevant, like more so than usual, is because those two bundles, I actually have a really hard time keeping them lit. And like today, all of a sudden, while, I just had smudged the space before I began, and they're going like gangbusters right now. Like it's been, half an hour and they're like still going. So let me continue. All right. The masculine and feminine energies on their side, I am in love with all of this. I'm going to start with their masculine. Okay. So they've got Dionysus. And I know that this might send some worry for those of you who have partners who have any kind of a substance abuse problem, particularly drinking, because Dionysus is associated with with kind of debauchery, but wine in particular. But you know what I think is really interesting? And I actually want to just read a couple of little bits from the book on this one. So here's Dionysus. As one of the most misunderstood deities, many believe being a follower of Dionysus means nonstop partying, but honoring Dionysus goes far deeper than that. Dionysus is a liberator. And then they go on to talk about, you know, the roles and place in society for women and minorities, and how like the festivals associated with Dionysus, as well as Bacchus, so the Bacchanalian festivals, that's the Roman counterpart. That they are, what will usually happen in those festivals is a reversal. So in this book they talk about like the women will dress as men, and the slaves will become the masters, and I'm like, oof, all right. But reversal does not dismantle anything. But in the spirit of what they're going for here about liberation and like kind of the freeing of all of our rules in its highest expression, this is definitely a card that has, you know, there's a dual meaning here. In its highest expression, it is about being liberated from all of the rules and expectations. And then in its lowest vibration, in a low expression, it would be, you know, like overindulging in wine and debauchery and all of that, you know, like that hedonistic kind of empty. It would be empty pleasure, because it's not pleasure that's enjoyed, it's pleasure that is consumed. Does that make sense? Like, you know, like if you don't eat all day and then you come home and you're famished, you don't taste your food. Okay, that's Dionysus in the lowest expression. It's just like consumption, and there's no savoring, there's no real like encounter with the food, the drink, the whatever it is. Okay. What they also want me to tell you about Dionysus is, I mean, if we're really going to be specific about like the substance abuse part of this, because there are other cards in here that could totally be about like liberation, you know. And they want me to talk about addiction in a, well, not addiction generally, but alcohol in particular. So what they're saying about alcohol is, you know, there are some people who have to become, like if they're alcoholics, they have to become teetotalers, right? And so they can't touch another drop. That's it. Like, because if they have one drop, they will have like the entire universe of alcohol in an hour, right? And so in order for them to like have some control over that, they have to stay away altogether. And the staying away altogether is in some ways an acknowledgement that they have no control. You know, they don't have control of themselves when it comes to alcohol, so they have to stay away altogether, okay? And that all by itself, I'm not saying that doesn't also take all kinds of control, because it does. But when people are really, like when they come out of that specific kind of addiction and they're able to attend parties where there's drinking and not have a craving and like be totally indifferent to it, or even to go to, you know, to have like a drink, you know, like one or two, and not have that spiral into all of the drinks, right? Excuse me, sorry, it's like I said, it's smoky in here. When they're able to be kind of indifferent about like, I could drink or I could not drink. I could have one, or I, you know, and I have no, it won't turn into 18. You know, if they're able to do that, that's a liberation from, you know, like that, like I can have a measured relationship with this substance, which had, you know, maybe, you know, if they have something like that going on, it's often their escape from having, it's the way they numb, it's the way they, you know, like avoid taking a look at all the things that they've been carrying around for so long. Okay, so this could go either way, and I think it, you know, depending on your own situation, you'll know which part of this card and all of that discussion applies to you. But mostly I do feel like this is positive. Okay, especially because of everything else that's going on in the spread this week. This feels positive. This feels like, oh, somebody, people are getting, they are, and even if it's not alcohol, they are liberating themselves from the shackles that have been binding them. So that can be their pain, any of their old wounding, all of that stuff. It's like they're freeing themselves from, the self-limiting thoughts, the, negative self-talk, all that, anything that's been holding them in place, they're shedding it, and that's wonderful. Okay, and then to go along with that, and actually this is why, like, it's kind of like the lower expression would be like the running away, the flying away, right? So, but this feels like it's more positive. Okay, so don't worry. All right, now, their feminine energy is the Valkyries. This is a card of redemption, and again, I want to talk about the Valkyries are the goddesses that escort fallen warriors, into the afterlife. And I just want to, I like the idea. I mean, redemption all by itself is, obviously that's wonderful. That's incredible. That's what this is. Redemption is rising from the decomposing floor, rising from death, and that's definitely this too. And in this case, this afterlife is not, it's not like literal death for them. This is the death of this old self, the old self that was bound, any of their old guilt and shame. It's like they shed all of that and they redeem themselves. They redeem themselves into their divine, the divine afterlife that is waiting for them beyond all the things that they feel so terrible about, like their wounds. And it's like, it's Judgment Day, right? I mean, it's kind of the same. That's redemption. Here's redemption. Okay. I like it. All right, let's keep going. I am going to show you, I think I'm gonna hold off on the universal love cards until the end, because I think they make a little bit more sense after you've seen the, like, what's in the garden. So let's go to the soul cards, because this is pretty good too. So there's 3 of them, you guys, and 2 of them look very, very, very similar. So 2 of the cards, I feel like this is us who are watching this video, and you can see, so here are orange leaves that are being shed, and it's a feminine figure. It is, and then we have this indigo blue. These colors came up a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was in the masculine and feminine cards. We had Poseidon and Maui, and it was, and actually it was Maui, and then it was also the 3 of deserts, and they both had the same colors in them, which was the orange with the teal of the throat chakra. This, I think, is more about the third eye moving into the crown, and you can see this orange is across her, where her sacral chakra is. This is across her womb. This is the shedding of all of the, these spent leaves. This is the shedding of all of the old woundings and ideas and clogged up energy and congestion that's been, keeping your creative impulses, like that's been, like if you have writer's block or any kind of creative blocks in your life, maybe not even just about artistic projects, like all of that is being shed. You are in that place of shedding all of those old things and renewing. Okay, and then we have with this indigo and the teal, this is about reconnecting the 2, like understanding that what you create here is divine expression. Okay, it's not merely like sexual and lust and desire, none of which is problematic. I just want to say that. Sometimes those do not have divinity embedded within them, and sometimes they do, like lust does as well. But it's those expressions that have been devoid of not just, like, in some ways, like an understanding that the divine is in there, like when it, so it's not that the divine kind of wasn't embedded. So I guess I misspoke earlier. It's more of like a denial for us, like the person who's inhabiting the body, a denial on our part for of the divine being part of that expression. It's always in there, but if you have any wounding in this area, you might kind of suppress that or ignore it or turn a blind eye to it. Okay, so this is kind of what's going on our side. Then there's what's going on their side, and I think this is interesting because it's another feminine-ish figure, but it also has these angel wings in here. And I really feel like for the counterpart, this is like the divine feminine rediscovering her fire. And you see how both of those are like basically the same energy, like the rediscovering of the fire. This is the same color scheme. And like I said, it doesn't matter if the counterpart is male or female. This is still about the feminine as a creator in the world. So even, I mean, you saw on our side, our masculine is like, here's Zeus being the creator of worlds, right? And we forget all the time about the role that the divine feminine plays as a creator, as a co-creator of worlds, our own and, you know, with others. So I really do like this as they refined their own fire and are now also coming to a place where they want to express. So if you are, this feels like a communicative week, and it feels like it's coming from them. It really just does, that they're, at the very least, they're giving much more serious thought, and like they're like to the point that they might be like dialed all the numbers except for the last one. If could I just reveal myself as a landline lady? It's like, because the cell phone, it's like, they'll look you up, they'll get your number already, and before they press send. Okay, there, I'll take it to the 21st century telecommunication technologies. All right, so that's where they're at. They're like on the verge, and they're trying to figure out like, oh gosh, am I really ready? Am I really ready to reestablish contact? Am I really ready to commit to this person in this way? Am I really ready to open the door to whatever, you know, in your situation, whatever is on the other side of that door? That's where they're at. Okay, I mean, it's like the key is in the lock. They're just about to turn the handle. I mean, that's where they're at. Okay, so yeah, I don't feel like this is like, oh, I still have fire. It's like, okay, fire, let's move forward. And yeah, and they're a little trepidatious still, but this is where they're at. And so the third card was pulled as, okay, so where's the energy of this bond right now? Is that not the twin flame card you've ever seen? Look at this thing. So it's almost like there's a heart, and here's one side of the heart and it comes up, and here's the other side of the heart and it comes up, and it's also kind of with flames, but these could also be interpreted as angel wings, right? The divine, loveliest, twin flamiest oracle card I've ever seen. I can't actually remember if we've had this one before. I feel like I might have said those words at least once already, and they're looking at each other. You know, last week we had the two who were holding hands and looking at opposite sides, you know, different sections of sky. And this week it is, oh, wow, look at that, you guys. This is pretty good. It's like, do I need to say anything else about this? Just look at this. Hardwired for union. The connection is already hardwired into us, into the connection between us. So yeah, you couldn't clear it if you wanted to. All right. Wow. Okay. They're going to have me continue holding off on the universal love card. So now let's look at what's growing in the garden. And this is definitely a spot where I am going to close my front door right now. Hold, please. Hi, sorry. Okay, it was too windy out there and things are going crazy. There is lots of crosstalk, lots of repetition in these cards. So we're going to start with the flowers. And the first flower card was Iris. We had this a couple weeks ago. I love it. I love it so much. And so the keywords are rainbows and messages. And then the quote says, when it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. But the other thing you need to know about Iris, so obviously pay attention to all of your signs and synchronicities. If you're getting a ton of them, like something's brewing. It really does feel like something is brewing, and like it's something that's coming to you, not something you need to do. But also with Iris, Iris is a flower that is meant for unsticking stuck things. Okay, so if you are feeling stuck in any part of your life, you know, if you're into feng shui, this would be a good time to put some irises into that quadrant of, you know, if you're of your home, if you're into feng shui. But even if you're not, it kind of doesn't matter. Like Iris is about like getting things moving again. And you know, I do want to read a little bit more of, gosh, this is just incredible. I want to read a little bit more from that Victorian flower card or flower book that I got last week, special delivery. So in the heart of this flower is promise. Promise of a better tomorrow, promises made and kept, promise that your efforts mean something. You know, this is all of that work that we've been talking about, you know, that you are the steward of your own life, that your efforts are needed in the world, and everything that you've been doing so far is about to pay off. Okay? This is a pledge from the universe that you will not be forgotten in the greater scheme, and that your life is important. Oh gosh, listen to this, you guys. Because of the hopeful nature of this flower, an advantageous proposal, especially of a personal nature, may soon follow. Tensions are easing now, and you will have fresher perspectives and revitalized energy. If the iris appears when you are about to enter into a long-term relationship, it is extremely positive. This indicates strong karmic connection and sense of fidelity, which will be lasting. Yeah, BT dubs all the flower cards and all the botanical stuff this week. It's all like love and marriage and long-lasting everything. It's purity, cleansing. Something's up. That's all. I mean, we're in springtime. It makes sense. Shall I keep going? I think you would like me to keep going. So the second flower that is growing in our garden this week is the lily. Okay, so let me just show you that card real quick. And the keywords here are majesty and virtue. And it says the lily is the emblem of rare. No, the lily, oh my gosh, what am I saying? The lily is the emblem rare of many virtues, good and rare. And by unknown, but that's a weird, that's some weird sentences right there. All right, let me just tell you. This is about purity. Okay, lilies, the irises also had a purity element to them because they're about revitalization and kind of clearing out old stuff. So here's the lily. Oh boy. Lily is a blossom of purity, especially with respect to the emotions. If love comes to you now, it will be true. Both of these two cards are about like, hey, if love's coming to you right now, if love shows up on your doorstep, it's for you, you can trust it, it's beautiful, and you know, like everything, right? There is new uniformity and clarity to your spiritual quest. You're learning to master your emotions and balance the heart and head into an effective mechanism for magic in life. That's about manifesting. That's about being the steward of your own life. It is also about, you know, birthing the life that you want. The tree card, one of the tree cards, is also about bringing things into manifestation, or into like physical material form. Yeah, this is, oh, and I like this. This is a time when simple pleasures will be most enjoyed. Like the pieces of a puzzle, your life will begin to fall in place. And so this is really what I was talking about before with, you know, if you've been kind of wondering, like, how do I get this all to work? This is the week where the pieces, like the light, or excuse me, the path becomes illuminated. Like it will be lit for you so you can follow which is why the signs and messages and synchronicities, they are about this path. So those are the flowers. Let's talk trees. We have the same, hawthorn showed up again. So if you remember, hawthorn is still let's see, this was the hope and marriage card. It's joy. It's like, this is union, and this is emotion. This is emotional union. And this is as much, I really do think I need to, there is a slightly different timbre on this card this week. This is as much about union between, like, material, physical union between you and your counterpart, as much as it is about, like, you coming into, like, spiritual union and alignment with the material work that you do in the world. Okay, so yeah, this is joy. It's still joy. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, yeah, okay, so that's the first tree, and then the second tree is hazel, and I like, you guys, I love it. So hazel, this is protection. It is the fulfillment of wishes, and it's also fertility. The lily is a card, or excuse me, the lily is also a flower of purity before marriage, fertility afterward. And then what we, like, collectively, all four cards have some version of those two things going on. Purity followed by fertility. So this is about cleansing and clearing, and we've been, that's what the eclipse was for. And then we're starting to plant, and we're coming into balance, and that's, the hazel is about, so hazel is about, like, bringing things, it was Sheila Nagig, like, bringing things from the magical, from the etheric, from that realm into physical form. That's what Sheila Nagig does. She gets people, or, she gets anything through the gateway. So does hazel. Hazel is a tree that helps do exactly that. This is so great. Okay, and then they're telling me also, another thing I forgot to mention, both Lily and Iris have associations with Juno, and Juno is a goddess who is associated with love and marriage. Do you see what I'm talking about? Like, these messages are repeating, and right now, like, that stinking smudge bundle that's called Jupiter is still burning. Like, I can't, it's so smoky in here. You can hear I'm coughing. It won't go out right now. I don't know what's going on. So there's that. But they also wanted me to tell you about, so hazel. One of the, the phrasing cracked me up because I'm also a 12-year-old. So country folklore has always linked hazelnuts with fertility, and an old saying proclaims that a girl who goes nutting on Sunday will meet the devil and have a baby before she can wed. Okay, so this is definitely part of that, like, both pagan and Christian lore around those values around purity before marriage and fertility after marriage, like virginity. Okay, and so, like, I'm not gonna get into that whole thing, except that I feel like the piece of wisdom, because that keeps on being repeated across, trees and flowers that are totally different decks, that this is really about, again, don't get ahead of yourself, right? Like, don't go nutting until it's time. Oh my gosh, I'm ridiculous. Let me be a grown-up for like half a second. All right, this is about, like, don't quit before the miracle happens. It's that. Okay, that's really what they're getting at here. This purity, it's like, you have to cleanse everything, and it doesn't do you any good to, if you don't, okay, let's talk washing dishes, okay? You have to clean the pots and pans before you cook something new in there, right? I mean, that makes the most sense. So before you can create something new, you have to clean all of your tools. You have to clear everything out before you can begin again. And that is the message I think that's really embedded in this card with Hazel. And if you're getting impatient with like, where's my partner? It's like, well, they got some they got some caked on mess going on in their oven. Just let them do it. Like, let them deal with that stuff. But you know what else they're telling me? So do you. Yeah, I know, right? Like, we just saw that they've got a lot of cards on their side that's totally about so it cut off. Let me keep going. I'm obviously not quite finished. Yeah, what was I saying? That they are, you know, before we can like make some, oh yeah, this is what it was. It was something that's been coming up in the readings this week is, you know, we've seen that they are actually they're getting themselves into alignment. They're real close, you know, like everything that we've seen, and I've been getting signs too, like that if they're not ready, then they're super close to ready. But the stopping point is actually that we're not ready, that we haven't been super diligent about doing our work. And I'm not kidding you, this came up in like 4 readings this week, that and I think this was the hint. I talked about this last week, the hint that was in a lot of the other readings that I had last week. It was like 8 readings or something, where it was like, everything is ready to come to you, but right now you are the only person who's kind of in the way, right? And so this is about getting out of your own way, doing the healing work you need to do, clearing out any of that stuff that makes you go, oh no, I can't, are you sure? Which is that stop sign to the universe. And so the last 2 cards are really, they really are, again, another echo. And we've had these cards before. So we've got Moon Tree. And within the mythology around Juno, she's often considered to be, sometimes she can be equated with being a moon goddess. Okay, and I just think it's so interesting because we've got these trees, there's the moon, we have a full moon tonight. And this is, full moons are about shedding. They are about shedding. So any of that stuff, any of these old leaves that are ready to go, let them go, And because this is about that purifying, that cleansing, so that you can refill the vessel anew and not have like spoiled, gross, caked on food, like mucking it all up or, contaminating it. And the second card, these were the overall energies, kind of what's going on right now. The second card is one we've had before, and I really feel like it's almost, it's echoing one of the soul cards we had. So we have balance. We're coming into the equinox, you guys. This is not an accident that we're seeing this card right now. The world wants to come into equilibrium, and like whether it's an ecosystem, whether it's an energetic ecosystem, everything wants to come into balance, and this is a time where the energies are really supportive of that. So here you can see we've got our trusty yin yang, and then we also have here's the partner and here's you in their ear, and they've got the moon here as well. This is the moon tree. They're shedding, like the clearing. I love this, the clearing that they're doing here. They find their fire. There's some cleansing fire on their throat chakra. They're getting ready to be able to speak from that intuitive divine feminine space. And then here you are, kind of in their ear in the background, which is again, that blue is connected to this blue. Okay, this is the intuitive. If you've ever ordered one of my chakra readings, the third eye chakra, the way I treat this in the reading is, this is the communicative channel in the 5D. This is your intuitive bond to one another. That hardwiring I was talking about, this is the way you guys always know kind of what's going on with the other one, even though you're not in contact. You can tell if they're having a good time. You can tell if they're having a hard time. You can tell if they are thinking about you, okay? So that's embedded in this card as well. And the third thing they want me to show you again is, like, these are so very much, I really felt like this is a yin-yang here. Like, here's like the one that comes in and kind of swoops around, and it's got kind of like the same swoop. And then here's the other one kind of swooping around, and it has kind of the same swoop. So, I mean, do you see what I'm talking about? About the ways that all of the cards are, they're echoing, there's crosstalk, there's, you know, repeated messages across different decks that show different things. Like, it's like, okay, in this deck, we need you to be able to talk, it's like, okay, we need you to be able to talk about purity, cleansing, and renewal, and love, marriage, fertility. These are the 3 messages we have for you this week. And they're like, oh, you're going to use those decks? All right, we'll make sure we'll, like, there's 2 cards in each of those decks that mean that. I mean, all of these cards are saying, like, the same things. And if you've been getting bombarded with your signs, this is, you know, they're telling you, keep the faith, you're not nuts, something's brewing, it's around the corner, but it's really about, you know, being in a state of receiving and not doing the, are you sure? But are you sure? You know, like the readings that I had a couple weeks ago in last week's reading. So I guess that would be 2 weeks ago. You know, like so many people who came in asking, am I going to get what I want? And I'm like, yes, here it all is. And they're like, oh, but are you sure? Oh, but, you know, like, oh, but my husband would never go for that. And I'm like, well, then don't go then. Like, you know, if you don't want it, then you don't have to have it. You know, so that these 2 judgment cards about, like, all the hard work you've been putting in is going to pay off. It's right around the corner. That's in the, you know, that's in this hazel card. That's in these, you know, the flower cards, the stuff that's in the garden. This must be, oh gosh, sorry, I just like totally had that flash. It's like, we've been getting these messages, I've been getting these messages all along about, like, tend your garden. You know, what are you planting in your garden? We had the Empress card for so long, like, oh, what are you planting? And, you know, she's the ruthless gardener. And then it's not an accident. I know, you know, that like, here we are in March in the Northern Hemisphere. This is when all of our spring flowers start popping up. And lo and behold, here I am doing, like, I changed out a whole section of the spread to be the garden. What is growing and blooming in the garden right now? And it's like, that happened last week too. That all of everything that's blooming right now is totally like all the stuff that people care about. You know, like reunion and love and marriage and lasting relationships, lasting unions, fidelity, sincerity, authenticity, and truth. That all of that is in there, and it really does seem like the only thing that's blocking it is whatever is still in you as a vessel that's kind of clogging up the works. Okay, so I mean that's like bittersweet news, isn't it? It's like, oh, I have control now. I mean, we've always had control, but it's like, oh, so the ball's in my court, I'm the one. And it's like, oh wait, shoot, I'm the one? Oh crap, you mean I gotta do stuff? Oh man, okay. Right, so it really is about kind of turning back toward ourselves, being less, you know, concerned about the partner as much, because they're all signs point to them kind of having it together, you know, like they're finding clarity, they are on their path, they are finding redemption, they're finding liberation. Oh, the key word here is ecstasy. You know, and I feel like ecstasy is like, ecstasy in its highest vibration is totally about the marriage between divinity, like the crown chakra with the sacral chakra. Okay, it's not just base. You know, there's always divinity in there. There's always divinity in sexual expression. The question is whether or not we are embracing or ignoring it. Wow. Okay, everyone. I feel like I need to kind of sit, but you know, this is video. So, all right. So that concludes this week's reading. Lots of really encouraging messages here about, you know, you being a creator of your own life, of being encouraged to pursue those things that you have been making excuses about. And I don't mean because you're wishy-washy, but because, you know, there's that part of you, you know, our ego mind that wants to be rational, that might talk us out of like, okay, but if I do that, what is that going to entail? And then we kind of, and that can sort of devolve into excuse making. Whereas, you know, if you go, okay, I can't do it right this instant, but I can make a plan. And that plan goes all the way up to, so what do I do today? Okay, and you can, you know, even if you don't take the big fool's leap off the cliff without a net, you can still start sewing up your net, right? Because you know that you're going to do that at some point. I just feel so encouraged by this, and I'm sorry this is like a big long reading, and it was like kind of on tangents, and they were kind of just sending me, like giving me threads to pull on, and you know, to the point where I kind of lost my train of thought a few times. But I hope that we all ended up where we were hoping to go, and you enjoyed the tour. And like, this is big stuff. And I do want to say again, some of you emailed me and told me about, you know, you identified, you knew that you were one of the ones who was like getting everything, like the platter had arrived and or was about to arrive, and you knew it. And I just thank you so much for keeping me in the loop on that. I'm so grateful, you know, to have any part in your journey, you know, walking along with you along your path. So if you are noticing these things coming around or like materializing in your life this week, in the next couple weeks, I of course would love so much to hear about it. All right, and then everything else down below. And yay, happy everything, right? Like happy everything. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.